Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. We are Tokin with Tolkien. And essentially, I'm going to be smoking dope and reading The Hobbit for the first time. Me and my butler Jeffrey here. He waved. And is my official laugh track. So first, we're going to start it off right. Excellent. Okay, so we're starting off right with J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit, or There and Back Again. I don't know why "or" is in the title. Maybe it has two titles. Ooh, a map. That's some exciting stuff right there. Funny words. This is my first time reading through The Hobbit. I like the series and the movies and whatnot, so I figured I'll get stoned and read the book. Okay, contents. There's chapters and unexpected party. I'll just skip that crap. A note on the text. Should I read that? Oh dear, I wasn't expecting this. Okay. No, it doesn't look important. How it was published and whatnot. Whoa, funky words. Alright, this looks like we're starting to get into the good stuff. Funky looking squiggles. Runes of some sort. And then, time for another hit. Shit's getting real now. Alright. Now let's start to get into the meat of this story. This is a story of long ago. At that time, the languages and letters were quite different from ours today. English is used to represent the languages, but 2 points may be noted. 1. In English, the only correct plural of dwarf is dwarves, and the adjective is dwarvish. In the story, dwarves and dwarvish are used, but only when speaking of the ancient people of whom Thorin Oakenshield and his companions belonged. 2. Orc is an English word. It occurs in 1 or 2 places, but is usually translated goblin, or hobgoblin for the larger kinds. Orc is the Hobbit's form of the name given at the time of these creatures, and it is not connected at all with orc applied to sea animals or dolphin kind. Of course. They were spelled differently. One had a C, one had a K. You're left to figure that out. Now, with that out of the way. I'm going to turn on the vaporizer. Let that baby warm up a bit. Jeffrey, if you want some of this, just give it a chuckle. Runes were old letters originally used for cutting or scratching on wood, stone, or metal. So were thin and angular. Yeah, I just didn't... Okay. At the time of this tale, only the dwarves made regular use of them, especially for private or secret records. Their runes are in the book represented by English runes, which are known now to few people. If the runes on Thor's map are compared with the transcriptions of the modern letters on pages 20 and 50, the alphabet adapted to modern English can be discovered and the above runic title also read. On the map, all normal runes are found, except for something that looks like a Y with the head unicorn Y for X. I and U are used for J and V. There are no runes for Q, U, C, W, or Z. This is complex for a children's book. Is this a puzzle that they give you to solve at the beginning of the story? Am I in the story? God damn. Okay. Time to see if this vaporizer is going to get caught up, because I don't know how to pronounce Nordic runes. It seems to be giving me a hard time. Stupid vape's not even going. Okay. So I'm gonna... There we go. There's chapter 1. Oh, God. 5 minutes before I find chapter 1. It's not a good start, Jeffrey. Not a good start at all. Okay. The Hobbit. Chapter 1. An Unexpected Party. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole, filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that meant comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green, with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened on to a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel. A comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paneled walls, the floors tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The hobbit was fond of visitors. He almost found some. The tunnel wound on and on, going fairly but not quite straight into the side of the hill. The hill, as all the people of many miles around called it, and many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side and then on another, not going upstairs for the hobbit bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these, wardrobes. He had a whole room devoted to clothes. Kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor, and indeed on the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side, going in, for these were the only ones to have windows. Deep-set round windows looking over his garden, the meadows beyond sloping down to the river. The hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking him. This is the story of how a Baggins had an adventure, and found himself doing and saying the things altogether unexpected. How interesting. He may have lost the neighbors' respect, but he gained, well, you'll see, whether he gained anything in the end. Well, I hope so. Though, it is an unexpected journey. So, a recap of the page that I've read. Baggins. Very expectable people. This one's going to be unexpected. So, the mother of our particular hobbit. What is a hobbit? I suppose hobbits need some description nowadays, since they have become rare and shy of the big people, as they call us. They are, or were, a little people, about half our height, and smaller than the bearded dwarves. Hobbits have no beards. There's little or no magic about them, except the ordinary everyday sort, which helps them to disappear quietly and quickly when large stupid folk like you and me come blundering along. Oh my god, he needs more commas. Making a noise like elephants, which they can hear a mile off. They are inclined to be fat in the stomach. They dress in bright clothes, chiefly green and yellow. Wear no shoes because their feet grow naturally leathery soles and thick, warm brown hair and stuff on their heads. Like the stuff on their heads, which is curly. Have long, clever brown fingers, good-natured faces, and laugh deep and fruity laughs, especially after dinner, which they have twice a day when they can get it. Wow. Like second breakfast. Now you know enough to to go on with, as I was saying, the mother of this hobbit, of Bilbo Baggins, that is, was the famous Belladonna Took, one of the three remarkable daughters of the old Took. He of the hobbits who lived across the water, the small river that ran at the foot of the hill. It was often said in other families that long ago one of the Took ancestors may have taken a fairy wife. That was, of course, absurd. But certainly there was still something not entirely hobbit-like about them, and once in a while members of the Took clan would go and have adventures. They discreetly disappeared, and the family hushed it up, but the fact remained that the Tooks were not as respectable as the Bagginses, though they were undoubtedly richer. Oh, so that's where Baggins gets his wily nature. It's his mother's fault. Should have known. She's a Took. Should we address an audience more? Perhaps. I suppose people are listening. Or not. We'll find that out later. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Wily Tooks. Let's keep going, shall we? Okay. Not that Belladonna Took ever had any adventures after she became Mrs. Bungo Baggins. Bungo, that was Bilbo's father, put the most luxurious hobbit hole for her, and partly with her money. Oh dear. That was to be found either under the hill or over the hill or across the water, and they remained to the end of their days. Still, it is probable that Bilbo, her only son, although he looked and behaved exactly like a second edition of his solid and comfortable father, got something of a bit queer in his make-up from the Took side, something that only waited for a chance to come out. The chance never arrived until Bilbo Baggins was grown up, being about 50 years old or so, and living in the beautiful hobbit hole built by his father, which I have just described to you. Until he had the fact apparently settled down immovably. Immovably. By some curious chance, one morning long ago, in a quiet of the world, when there was less noise and more green, and the hobbits were still numerous and prosperous, and Bilbo Baggins was standing at the door after breakfast smoking an enormous long wooden pipe that reached nearly down to the woolly toes. Neatly brushed. If you could see it, you would see that I am, too, smoking a long, well, I would call it Gandalfy, but we'll call it Bilbo-y right now. Its name's the White Wizard. I was smoking some OG Kush, and it's pretty nice. Oh shit, the vape's on. Oh god. Jeffrey, you may want in on this. Let's take a seat. Oh dear, where were we? Ooh, immovably. It sure is, that's where we are. Okay, good. I'd hate to be lost. Jeffrey, you almost got me lost. Hey, don't take that tone with me. They can hear you, Jeffrey. They know you're real. Gone but not forgotten, Jeffrey. By some curious chance, one morning long ago, in the quiet of the world, when there was less noise... Wait, I read this already. Yeah, neatly brushed. There we go. Oh, we're at the good part now. Ready for this? Gandalf came by! Gandalf! Is he talking? No. Do they use quotation marks when they talk? I hope so. It would be an awful book if they didn't. Alright. Gandalf! They just really want to... The exclamation marks were throwing me off. If you had heard only a quarter of what I have heard about him, and I have only heard very little of all there is to hear, You would be prepared for any sort of remarkable tale. Tales and adventures sprouted up all over the place wherever he went, in the most extraordinary fashion. He had not been down that way under the hill for ages and ages, not since his old friend Old Took died. In fact, the hobbits had almost forgotten what he looked like. He had been away over the hill and across the water on business of his own, since they were all small hobbit boys and hobbit girls. All that unsuspecting Bilbo saw that morning was an old man with his staff. Seen an old man with his staff on a bus once. That was way too lowbrow. We should keep this classy, Jeffrey. Don't laugh at that stuff. I'll also watch my tongue. Try not to swear too much. This is a children's book, after all. All unsuspecting Bilbo saw to do with his staff. There we go. He had a tall, pointed blue hat, a long grey cloak, a silver scarf over which his long white beard hung down below his waist, and immense black boots. "Good morning," said Bilbo. Oh, that wasn't Gandalf at all. I want to do a different Bilbo. "Good morning," said Bilbo, and he meant it. The sun was shining and the grass was very green, but Gandalf looked at him from under long bushy eyebrows and stuck out further than the brim of his shady hat. That is some mean eyebrows. They should have gave him those eyebrows in the fucking... "What do you mean?" he said. "Do you wish me a good morning, or mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not? Or that you feel this morning, or that it is a morning to be good on?" That is fucking cryptic language. "All of them at once," said Bilbo. "And a very fine morning for a pipe of tobacco outdoors." Tobacco? That's a terrible message to children. It's a children's book, for crying out loud. We can switch that up. This is a new interpretation. Damn it, Jeffrey. How many pipes must I smoke? I think I was still clogged. We cleaned these pipes just today. Damn it, Jeffrey. Okay. Refueling station. Hold on. Okay, one. We're getting carried away. Okay, one left. God damn. What? Where was I? No. Oh, dear. Let me just find my place here. Oh, yeah, for pipe of dope. And a very fine morning for a pipe of weed outdoors. Into the bargain. If you have a pipe about you, sit down and have a fill of mine. There's no hurry, we have all the day before us. Then Bilbo sat down on a seat by his door, crossed his legs, and blew out a beautiful grey ring of smoke that sailed up into the air without breaking and floating away over the hill. "Very pretty," said Gandalf, "but I have no time to blow smoke rings this morning. I am looking for someone to share in an adventure. That I am arranging, and it's very difficult to find anyone." "I should think so in these parts," he said. "We are plain, quiet folk, and have no use for adventures. Nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Make you late for dinner. I can't think of anybody... I can't think what anybody sees in them," said our Mr. Baggins. and stuck one thumb behind his braces. Braces? Jeffrey? Jeffrey doesn't know either. Okay. You guys are going to think I'm dumb. Said our Mr. Baggins and stuck one thumb behind his braces. I bet it's his suspenders. And blew out another, even bigger smoke ring. Oh man, showing him like a chump. Then he took out his morning letters and began to read, pretending to take no more notice of the old man. He had decided that he was not quite his sort, and wanted him to go away. But the old man did not move. He stood, leaning on his stick and gazing at the Hobbit without saying anything, until Bilbo got quite uncomfortable and even a little cross. "Good morning," he said at last. "We don't want any adventures here, thank you. You might try over the hill, or across the water." But this he meant that the conversation was at an end. "What a lot of things you do use good morning for," said Gandalf. "Now, you mean that you want to get rid of me, and that it won't be good till I move off." Not at all, my dear sir. Let me see. I don't think I know your name." Yes, my dear sir. "And I know your name, Mr. Bilbo Baggins. And you do know my name, though you don't remember that I belong to it. I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me. To think that I should have lived to be good-morninged by a belladonna Took's son, as if I was selling buttons at the door. Gandalf! Gracious me! No, not a wandering wizard that gave old Took a pair of magic diamond studs that fastened themselves and never came undone till he ordered. Not the fellow who used to tell such wonderful tales at the parties about dragons and goblins and giants and rescue of princesses and the unexpected luck of widows' sons. Not the man that used to make such particularly excellent fireworks. I remember those. Old Took used to have them in the Midsummer's Eve splendid. They used to go up like the great lilies and snapdragons and laburnums of fire and hang in the twilight all evening. You'll notice already that Mr. Baggins was not quite so prosy as he liked to believe. Also, that he was very fond of flowers. Dear me, he went on. Not the Gandalf who was responsible for so many quiet lads and lasses going off into the blue for mad adventures. Anything from climbing trees to visiting elves or sailing in ships, sailing on other shores. Bless me, life used to be so quiet in her. I mean, you used to upset things badly in these parts once upon a time. I beg your pardon, but I had no idea you were still in business." "Well, where else should I be?" said the wizard. "All the same, I am pleased to find you remember something about me. You seem to remember my fireworks kindly, at least at any rate, and that is not without hope. Indeed, for your old grandfather Took's sake, and for the sake of your poor belladonna, I will give you what I used to ask for." "Well, I will give you what you used to ask for." Thank goodness, that could have got creepy. Oh, Jeffrey wants me to hit my pipe also. Sorry, that was a quick vape break. I'm totally getting into this story. I should. Jeffrey, you need to be more straightforward, man. Yes, the ashtray. You do that. Good work, Jeffrey. Keeping things on track. "I beg your pardon, but I haven't asked for anything." "Yes, you have. Twice now. My pardon. I give it to you. In fact, I will go so far as to send you on this adventure. Very amusing for me, very good for you, and profitable too, very likely, if you ever get over it. Sorry, I don't want any adventures, thank you. Not today. Good morning. But please, come to tea at any time you like. No, but not tomorrow. Come tomorrow. Wait, why not tomorrow? Come tomorrow. That's what it says. Goodbye. With that, the hobbit turned and scuttled inside his round green door and shut it as quickly as he dared, not to seem rude. Wizards, after all, are wizards. That's a very strong point. What on earth did I ask him to tea for? He said to himself. As he went to his pantry, he had only just had breakfast. But he thought a cake or two and a drink of something would do himself good after his fright. So he's like a stress eater. Poor guy. Gandalf, in the meantime, was still standing outside the door and laughing long but quietly. I hear you, Gandalf. After a while, he stepped up and, with the spike on his staff, scratched a queer sign on the hobbit's beautiful green front door. Then he strode away just about the time when Bilbo was finishing his second cake and beginning to think that he had escaped the adventures very well. Oh no. So Bilbo thinks he's scot-free. Gandalf's all like, not chance. Gotcha, bitch. There, nice one. Holy man. Jeffrey. You make me lose my spot when you make me take these pipes. You're impeding progress. What kind of butler are you? That sassy one, that's what you are. Get that sass out of here. Gandalf scratched. Yeah, Gandalf messed with his front door like a dick. Like, what gives Gandalf, you eyebrowy bastard? Is finishing second cake very well. The next day, he had almost forgotten about Gandalf. He did not remember things very well, unless he put them down on his engagement tablet. Like this. Gandalf, tea, Wednesday. Yesterday, he had been too flustered to do anything of the kind. Just before tea time, there came a tremendous ring on the front doorbell. And then he remembered. He rushed and put on the kettle and put out another cup and saucer and an extra cake or two and ran to the door. I am so sorry to keep you waiting, he was going to say, and when he saw that it was not Gandalf at all, it was a dwarf with a blue beard tucked into a golden belt, very bright blue eyes under his dark green hood. As soon as the door was opened, he pushed inside just as if he had been expected. He hung his hooded cloak on the nearest peg and Dwalin at your service. Dwalin at your service. I'm going to give him that voice. He said with a low bow. Ooh, maybe we should make it deeper. Dwalin at your service. That's awful. Dwalin at your service. There we go. He's black. Come on, Dwalin. That's awful. Fuck it, we're going. Bilbo Baggins, that's yours, said the hobbit, too surprised to ask any questions for the moment. When the silence of the followed had become uncomfortable, he added, I am just about to take a tea. Pray come and have some with me. A little stiff, perhaps, but he meant it kindly, and would you do if any uninvited dwarf came and hung his things up on your hall without a word of explanation? That is fair. It was like just getting impeded upon. About Dwaylen. Baby. Baby. Dwaylen. The sexy bluebeard dwarf. On his gold bling belt. Dwaylen. They had not been at the table long. In fact, they hardly reached the third cake when there came another, even louder ring at the bell. "Excuse me," said the Oh, man. Seems way more doesn't seem like you should exclaim it as much as this exclamation mark makes me feel. Fuck it. "Excuse me," said the Hobbit. And off he went to the door. He likes to make a scene. "So, you have got here at last." That was what he was going to say to Gandalf this time. But it was not Gandalf. Instead, there was a very old-looking dwarf on the step with a white beard and a scarlet hood, and he hopped inside as soon as the door was opened, just as if he had been invited. He also seemed invited. "I see they've begun to arrive already." That's not... No. I see there's gonna... Ooh, that sounds like fun. "I see they're going to..." Oh, God. Hold on. I can do this. "I see they've begun to arrive already," he said when he caught sight of Dwaylen's green hood hanging up. He hung his red one next to it, and "Balin, at your service," he said with his hand on his breast. Oh, baby. This is a children's book. It's like Game of Thrones over here. Except with dwarves and hobbits. And old dwarf breasts instead of good ones. "Thank you," said Bilbo with a gasp. It was not the correct thing to say, but "they have begun to arrive" had flustered him badly. He liked visitors, but he liked to know them before they arrived, and he preferred to ask them himself. He had a horrible thought that the cakes might run short, and then he, as the host, he knew his duty and stuck to it, however painful. He might have to go without. "Come on in, have some tea," he managed to say after taking a deep breath. "A little beer would suit me better, if it is all the same to you, my good sir," said Balin with the white beard. "But I don't mind some cake, seed cake, if you have any." "Lots," Bilbo found himself answering, and his own surprise, and he found himself scuttling off to the cellar to fill a pint beer mug, and then to a party to fetch... Oh man, just a pantry. Wouldn't matter if it was a party. Well, it's gonna have a party, I suppose. And then to a pantry to fetch 2 beautiful round seed cakes, which he had baked that afternoon for his after-supper morsel. Because he likes his comfort food. God damn. Alright, we're docking up here. God damn, I'm getting pretty high. Alright. We got book to read. We're on page 8. It's gonna take a while. Thought a cake or 2 and a drink something would do him good after his fright. Gandalf, that's not the very wrong page. So to arrive, really. Oh. We'll get there. There we go. Found it. When he got back, Balin and Dwalin... Really? Wow. Balin and Dwalin were talking at the table like old friends. As a matter of fact, they were brothers. God damn. Oh man. So, fuck. Oh, damn. I gotta wash my mouth. Bilbo plumped down the beer and the cake in front of them. And a loud ring came of the bell. And then another ring. Gandalf for certain this time, he thought as he puffed along the passage. But it was not. It was two more dwarves. Both with blue hoods, silver belts, and yellow beards. And each of them carried a bag of tools and a spade. In they hopped, as soon as the door began to open. Bilbo was hardly surprised at all. What can I do for you, my dwarves? Killy! Killy! Killy? Killy. Killy? Killy. Killy's a cool dude. So he's gonna be killing people, I assume. Killy and Philly. Oh god. Killy and Philly. No, that's awful. I'm starting to think there's too many characters to have a fun, different voice for each. Can I do like Family Guy cop-outs and have the same voice for multiple characters? No. Jeffrey, you're making this hard on me. Don't expect continuity in voices. Especially between reads. Okay. Killy, at your service, said one. And Philly, added the other. And they both swept off their blue hoods and bowed. At yours and your families, replied Bilbo, remembering his manners this time. That's quite the expression. Dwalin and Balin are here already, I see, said Killy. Let's join the throng. Throng, thought Baggins. I don't like the sound of that. I really must sit down for a minute and collect my wits and have a drink. Don't blame you. He had only just had a sip in a corner while the four dwarves sat round the table and talked about mines and gold and troubles with the goblins and the depredations of dragons. Depredations. Ooh. And lots of other things which he did not understand and did not want to, for they sounded much too adventurous. Oh dear. Much too adventurous for Bilbo. When ding-dong-a-ling-dang, ding-dong-a-ling-dang, his bell rang again. Oh, that's a sweet one. As if some naughty little hobbit boy was trying to pull the handle off. Someone at the door, he said, blinking. It was Philly. This is Philly. Which one's Philly? Something like this. Some four, I should say, but say by the sound. Some four, I should say by the sound, said Philly. Besides, we saw them coming along behind us in the distance. The poor little hobbit sat down in the hall and put his head in his hands, and wondered what had happened, and what was going to happen, and whether they would all stay to supper. Oh dear. When the bell rang again louder than ever, and he had to run to the door, it was not 4 after all. It was 5. Another dwarf had come along while he was wandering in the hall. He had hardly turned the knob before they were all inside, bowing and saying, "At your service!" One after another, Dory, Nori, Ori, Owen, and Glowin. We're expected to remember all these characters. Tolkien be Trolkin. Were their names, and very soon 2 purple hoods, a grey hood, a brown hood, and a white hood were hanging on the pegs, and off they marched with their broad hands stuck in their gold and silver belts to join the others. Already it had almost become a throng. Some called for ale, and some for porter, and one for coffee, and all of them for cakes, so the Hobbit was kept very busy for a while. A big jug of coffee had just been set at the hearth, and seed cakes were gone, and the dwarves were starting on a round of buttered scones when there came a loud knock, not a ring, but a hard rat-tat on the Hobbit's beautiful green door. Somebody was bagging with a stick. Bilbo rushed along the passage very angrily and altogether bewildered and bewuthered. This was the most awkward Wednesday he ever remembered. And we're going to take some riffs for Awkward Wednesdays. Yes, Jeffrey. Yes, Jeffrey, I will hit the Gandalf pipe. I'm feeling there's some Gandalf action coming. Every time. Fucking way. Nope, not there. Wednesdays, yep. Oh dear, we should be wrapping up soon. God damn, what are we at? We're like 40 minutes? Ooh. You guys still listening? Fucking A. That's a gift to you. One day pit for you guys. Jeffrey Stroke said I should do a Gandalf pipe for you guys instead. With the vapor too. Why not? No, I'm not hitting that pipe too. Damn it, Jeffrey. We have limits. Like the limit of speed. Like light. Being the speed limit of the universe. There's a limit. Now he's getting out MC Tigger. Which is a pipe. Wednesday he ever remembered. He pulled open the door with a jerk, and they all fell in, one on top of the other. More dwarves, 4 dwarves, and there was Gandalf behind, leaning on his staff and laughing. He had made quite a dent on the beautiful door. He had also, by the way, knocked out the secret mark that he had put there the morning before. Carefully, carefully, he said. It's not like you, Bilbo, to keep friends waiting on the mat, and then open the door like a pop gun. Let me introduce Bifur, Bofer, Bomber, and especially Thorin. God damn it, Gandalf, you dick. You guy, you. At your service, said Bifur, Bofer, and Bomber, standing in a row. Then they hung up 2 yellow swords and a pale green one, and also a sky blue one with a long silver tassel. The last belonged to Thorin, an enormously important dwarf. In fact, no other than the great Thorin Oakenshield himself, who was not at all pleased at falling flat on Bilbo's mat with Bifur, Bofer, and Tomber on top of him. For one thing, Bomber was immensely fat and heavy. Just calling him out. Thorin, indeed, was very hofty? Hofty. Thorin, the Hofty. The Hofty Oakenshield. And said nothing about service, but poor Mr. Baggins said he was sorry so many times that at last he grunted, "Pray don't mention it. Pray don't mention it. That's gonna be my Thorin Oakenshield. How you like it? Pray don't mention it. Ladies." And stopped frowning. No, he just stopped frowning. Now, we're all here, said Gandalf, looking at a row of 13 hoods, the best detachable party hoods. 13, my God. And his own hat hanging on the pegs. Quite a merry gathering. I hope there is something left for the latecomers to eat and drink. What's that? Tea? No, thank you. A little red wine, I think, for me. Yeah, Gandalf's here to party, baby. And for me, said Thorin. Oh, and for me, said Thorin. Oh, I think him and Gandalf may have a thing. There's a strong possibility that Thorin and Gandalf have a thing going on. And, ooh, Biffer, ooh, goddamn. And Raspberry, no, that's not the fat. Oh, which one's the fat one? Oh, got your ass, Bomber. Okay, and raspberry jam and apple tart, said Biffer. Mince pies and cheese, said Bofer. And pork pie salad, said Bomber. And more cakes and ale and coffee if you don't mind, called the other dwarves through the door. Put on a few eggs. There's a good fellow, Gandalf called after him as the hobbits stumped off to the pantries. And just bring out the cold chicken and pickles. What the fuck? Seems to know as much about the inside of my ladders as I do myself, says Mr. Baggins, who was feeling positively flummoxed and was beginning to wonder whether a most wretched adventure had not come right into his house. That's a solid hunch, Bilbo. By the time he had got all the bottles and dishes and knives and forks and glasses and plates and spoons and things piled up on a big tray, he was getting very hot and red in the face and annoyed. Confiscate and bother these dwarves, he said aloud. Why don't they come and lend a hand? Lo and behold, there stood Balin and Dwalin at the door of the kitchen, and Philly and Killy behind them, and before he could say knife, they had whisked the trays and a couple of small tables into a parlor, into the parlor, and set out everything fresh. It would have been cooler if it was parkour. Hardcore parkour dwarves. Hardcore? Totally. Okay. Remember, the next word I need to say is Gandalf. Just trust me, Jeffrey. It's what's needed. Cut, Jeffrey. We're stopping like every 2 minutes to just do. Okay. Jeffrey's my manager butler. Gandalf sat at the head of the pantry with the 13 dwarves all around. And Bilbo sat on a stool at the fireside, nibbling at a biscuit. Bracket. His appetite was quite taken away. Close bracket, comma. And trying to look as if this was all perfectly ordinary and not in the least an adventure. Deny till you die, baby. He's like, I'm too high for this shit. I don't want to adventure. Let's continue our adventure, shall we? The dwarves ate and ate and talked, and time got on. At last they pushed their chairs back and Bilbo made a move to collect the plates and glasses. "I suppose you will all stay to supper?" he said in his politest, unpressing tones. "Of course," said Thorin. "And after, we shan't get through the business till late. And we must have some music first. Now, to clear up." Thereupon, the 12 dwarves, not Thorin, he was too important. Ha! Eat it, bitches. And stayed talking to Gandalf. Told ya. What'd I say? I called this. Jumped to their feet and made tall piles of all the things. They went, not waiting for trays, bouncing columns of plates with the bottle on the top. With one hand, while the hobbit ran after them and almost squeaking with fright. Please be careful, and please don't trouble, I can manage." But the dwarves only started to sing. They're singing? Oh boy. Do we have musical numbers? Is there a tune we should know? This is... I should, read this, beforehand before I try to sing on the fly. What should this be to the tune do? It's gotta be to the tune of something. The Pokemon theme? Okay. We're gonna sing about cleaning plates to the tune of the original Pokemon theme song. Because that's the one we've decided upon. Chip the glasses and crack the plates. Blunt the knives and bend forks. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Smash the bottles and burn the corks. Cut the clock and thread on the fat. Pour the milk in the pantry floor. Leave the bones on the bathroom mat. Splash the wine on every door. Dump the crocks in a boiling bowl. Bound them up with a thumping pole. When you're finished, if there any hole, send them down the hall to roll. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. So carefully with the plates. I know we got a little messy at the end there, but that could have went worse. Jeffrey approves. That sound you hear is Jeffrey approving. I don't know if this is reward or punishment, but it's fine. Also, Jeffrey's force feeding me here. Okay. That's a good time to near end off. I'm going to finish this page. And then I think that'll be the end. Oh, there might be more songs coming, so look forward to that in the next episode. And of course, they did none of these dreadful things, and everything was cleaned and put away safe as quick as lightning. While the Hobbit was turning round and round in the middle of the kitchen, trying to see what they were doing, then they went back and found Thorin with his feet on the fender, smoking a pipe. Ah, yeah, baby. Well, here's to Thorin for knowing what's up. Had the other pipe, I guess. That's MC Tigger. That pipe you just heard. This is the Big Daddy Deluxe vaporizer. Okay. Pipe. pipe. Where we at? Oh God, where we at? Smoke rings, Thorin smoking a pipe. Whew. There we go. I was scared there for a second. This is like some mid-paragraph shit. That was a scope. Okay. He was blowing the most enormous smoke rings, and wherever he told one to go, it went. Up the chimney, or behind the clock, to the mantelpiece, or under the table, or round and round the ceiling. But wherever it went, it was not quite enough to escape Gandalf. Pop! He sent a smaller smoke ring from his short clay pipes straight through each one of Thorin's. When Gandalf's smoke ring would go through and come back and hover over the wizard's head, he had a cloud of them about him already, and in dim light it made him look like a strange sorceress. Bilbo stood and watched. He loved smoked rings. And then he blushed to think how proud he had been yesterday morning of smoke rings he had spent up the wind over the hill. Now for some music, said Thorin. Bring up the instruments. Ooh, they have instruments in this one? Ooh, they just like hum. Mm-hmm. That was a sweet song. I dug it. We talked about that before, didn't we, Jeffrey? Jeffrey nods. Jeffrey knows what's up. Killy and Philly rushed for their bags and brought back little fiddles. Ooh, they feel sweet. Dory, Nori, and Ori brought out flutes from somewhere. Skin flutes. I don't trust Dory, Nori, and Ori anymore. Bomber produced a drum. Timpani or bass drum or something. Produced a drum from the hall. A Biffer and Bofer went out too and came back with clarinets, and they had left among the walking sticks. Dwalin and Balin said, "Excuse me, I left mine in the porch. Just bring..." Oh, I should do their voices, shouldn't I? Dwalin and Balin. "Excuse me, I left mine on the porch. Just bring mine in with you," said... Oh, "Just bring mine in with you," said Thorin. This character track thing is awful. They came back with viols as big as themselves, and with Thorin's harp. Thorin plays the harp. He's a man's man. They came back with viols as big as themselves, and with Thorin's harp, wrapped in green cloth. It was a beautiful golden harp, and when Thorin struck it, the music began all at once. So sudden and sweet that Bilbo forgot everything else. It was swept away into dark lands under strange moons, and far over the water, and very far from his hobbit hole, under the hill. The dark came into the room from the little window that opened on the side of the hill, and firelight flickered. It was April, and still they played on, while the shadow of Gandalf's beard wagged against the wall. The dark filled all the room, and the fire died down. The shadows were lost, and still they played on, and suddenly, first one and then another began to sing as they played, deep-throated singing of the dwarves in the deep places of their ancient homes, and this is like a fragment of their song, if it can be like their song without their music. And we're going to stop here because next is songs. And that's how we're going to start the next session, I guess, because we're at like an hour. So this has been Tokin with Tolkien. Jeffrey's been here too. He's been having a solid time. Be sure to tune in next time when we start out with a song. In fact, hell, if anyone puts the song in the comments, it'll totally have a chance of being selected with the tune of whatever the hell this song's going to be. I'll give that to you. See if that works out. Alright, thanks for listening. If you made it this far, all the power to you, man.